to love.
Say yes. Do it right now. Say yes. Yes to today. What we've been doing, just like yes.
Say yes,
Yes.
to life.
You can stand up right now and just say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Out loud. Say it. Say yes. Yes. If I dare you to even bring more energy. Yes. Yes. I'm alive. Yes. I'm so grateful. Yes. I get another day. Yes. 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 So good. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to day 10 of our 10-day immersion, our 10-day return to source. How's everyone feeling today? Share in the chat what's been opening up for you and what is something that has shifted for you, even if you just caught 5 minutes or you've been here all 10 days. Right? Within the container since spring equinox, just being in this energy, what shifted? Is there a new quality? Is there a new state? Is there a new awareness? I feel so much more peace. Yes, amazing. And ecstasy. So good. So good. If you can come on video for those of you in VIP, I'd love to see you. And Facebook, I want to hear. And even if you're watching the replay right now, and you maybe just joined us. I know some people joined us later. Please share. I want to share. I want to know. I want to see you. I want to feel you. And I want to do a little bit of experiment with you right now. Okay. Because, in my work, one of the things that I teach is the laws of the universe or the Hermetic principles or the universal divine laws. They have different names depending on the school of thought. And one of them is that everything is vibration, which we hear a lot in the spiritual community. And in some ways, some of these concepts and laws, they can almost start to sound so fluffy or so woo that we actually ignore them. Or the things that are the most basic, like Azra and I were talking about, like good sleep. It's like the simple things we kind of underestimate. But oftentimes it's the most simple things that are the most profound. And just because we hear something over and over again, we shouldn't ignore it. I think that there are ways that things are talked about that lack the depth or lack our own consciousness to understand them. And so then we just kind of write them off as like annoying and foofy, things like the law of attraction or manifestation. I mean, even the word manifestation, it's like, I don't really love it because the way that it's just talked about over and over again in different ways. And sometimes I feel like it lacks the depth, but we should be mindful to not write off. I'm speaking to some of you. Some of you are like, I've never even heard about everything's vibration, but for some of you are like, yeah. So I'm speaking to those of you that can get a little cynical or a little bit like, I've heard this, I've heard that. But in my work, it's really about landing and integrating, embodying these understandings so that they're not just conceptual, but you actually get it. So I want to just do a quick experiment with the law of vibrations. Be really simple, but just so you have it in your system, you already know, but I'm going to help you to remember how important and how simple it is to shift your state and why it's so important to be mindful of your vibration. You've already manifested a couple new clients as you started this. Amazing, Nicole. So amazing. And so that's something that I'll say before we go into this little experiment is that, the context of this container was return to source. And I talked a lot about awakening, and I talked a lot about ultimate purpose, which is to awaken, which is to self-realize in this life. And we talked about peace and joy. But here's the thing. I'm here to be a creator. I'm here to enjoy the full spectrum of this life. I mean, for any of you that were watching my stories yesterday, you'll see that in the morning, I was training for a triathlon. And then all day I was doing this and serving clients and doing other things to build my business and to teach and advise. I advise organizations. I coach many amazing clients and hosting this. And then in the evening, I went to this sexy, sensual dance class. That's floor work. You put on knee pads, you wear lingerie. And then from there, I went to salsa. So that's just one version of a day for me. And it's really full spectrum. The triathlete in me is this athlete. She's kind of badass. It's a little bit more masculine, I'm working my body and pushing my edges. And then I come here and I'm serving and I'm also playing many hats and roles depending on what is needed in front of me, right? Sometimes I work with CEOs and leaders that are stewarding millions and billions of dollars and leading huge companies. And sometimes I'm working with small service-based, more spiritual, healing-oriented clients to support them to scale their business. Or it's a whole spectrum. but then I put on lingerie at night. Like, so it's not about just awakening so that you can sit on a mountaintop. That's not what we're here in this lifetime for, in this phase of our life. We're here so that we can create and have the life that we desire. Now, I'm really passionate about tuning into spirit, to source, to reveal to me my truer desires, to make sure that they're not just being informed by what I see around me, but I can let what I see around me inspire me and show me what's possible. And then I'm always in that practice of like, okay, and what's true and right for me? Where are my goals coming from? Where is this vision coming from? Is this actually the right vision, the most aligned vision and goal for me right now in this chapter of life? But then I trust my desires. And like, I love beauty. I love luxury. I love traveling the world. I love new experiences. Like, I want to experience all of it. There is so much I want to learn. There's so many people that I want to serve, right? Like, so I love that you said that you brought in new clients, because this hasn't been inherently about attracting anything or even specifically creating things. It's been more about a way of being, a state of being. And then from there, everything we desire is more possible. Has anyone else experienced that? And this will land this a little bit deeper. So this vibration idea. So we're just going to do like a little experiment. So take a deep breath and just kind of go like flat face for a moment, maybe even like pout a little bit. And I want you to out loud complain about something that you've been complaining about, something you already complain about. I don't have enough this person's that. I'm like, you don't have to make it up. Like, what's something that you say inside of your head often? Say it out loud and frown and complain again about another thing. I don't have enough time for this. I don't have enough energy for this. This person is so controlling and annoying. Why can't blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now shake that off. Now bring a big smile on your face. Just like big smile, and praise yourself for something. Or just life, like, oh my God, I'm so thankful and grateful that my body is getting stronger. Wow. And actually you can even like shift, like the thing that you've been complaining about, you'd be like, oh my God, I'm so thankful that I have, like, if you're complaining about your partner, like, I'm so thankful that I have a partner by my side. Or like, you could even like find the gratitude, but do the opposite of complaining. Celebrate something, smile on your face. Okay. Just notice how you feel. Just notice the difference already. Now go back to frowning and complain about something. Frown, or flat face, complain. I'm so annoyed that I can't afford that thing. And God, the fucking world is whatever. Okay, now smile again and be grateful for something. Yeah, shake it off, smile and just like, it can be simple. You don't even have to do it. Like, I'm loving my Zoom people are getting into it. You totally get into it. But even literally just the shift from like complaining to just smiling, like, wow, this is such a cool opportunity that I get to transform and evolve my relationship to this person that's annoying me. So different. Okay. So different. Now, another example, like, if there's anybody in your life that you are complaining about in any way, someone that's irritating you, annoying you, frustrating you, just like think about that for a moment. Think about that person. It could be subtle, it could be big. Now imagine this person. If you can't think of anyone, you can do yourself, but there's usually at least someone that like recently, maybe they said something, right? For some of you, there's like someone in your life that's like, they're really frustrating. They're really annoying you. Like, you really don't love the way they're showing up. It could be a colleague, a partner, a family member. If you can't think of anyone, just put yourself in this, but think of the person that you had a little judgment towards recently, or you had a little complaint towards. You just wish they showed up a little differently, behaved a little differently. Imagine them in your mind in a ball of light. Like, see light around them, see them filled with light, or light around them, and see them as a child of God, as a child of the divine, as perfect, but healing, as somebody who the way they behaved was because they didn't have the love they needed, because they don't trust you, or whatever it was that they did, because they weren't trusted. And they've had all these experiences that have caused them mistrust, and that it's actually not personal at all. You just see them as innocent and beautiful. And pour as much love into that ball of light that you have around them as you can possibly muster. Just like love them, see them as love, send them love. Because they can't take your peace away. Like, just fill them with so much love and see the truth. They're like, oh, this isn't personal. Like, whatever it is for you, just see the actual truth, the higher truth. And the more that you do this, you can either keep doing that or you can open your eyes. If there's people in your life that you wish would shift. Now, I work a lot in the relational field. I work with co-founders, I work with teams, I work with lovers. So there are, of course, communication strategies, and there's a lot to like making relationships really, really thrive. But at the most basic level, at a vibrational level, the law of correspondence, the law of mentalism, the way you perceive somebody in a relationship will shift how they show up for you. The way you see somebody will shift how they show up in front of you. So the more that you can just like see somebody as God and as divine and forgive them for the places that they behave that you don't necessarily love, but like love that too, the more it'll shift. And you get to create your own experience no matter what's going on. And so you always have the ability to shift your experience without anyone around you changing anything based on your perception of it, based on your thought around it. That's how much power you have. And so if there's some results in your life that you're not loving, it's time to pull out the weeds and shift what you're planting, because the seeds you plant will always bear fruit. And so if there's things in your life that you're not loving, results that you're not happy with, then you need to really look at like what gets to be uprooted, what needs to be replanted, what seeds are you planting, what thoughts, what beliefs, what mental attitude, what energy, what vibration, because everything in your life is your creation. And someone said this on the show that like, that's an amazing thing because that gives you the power to change it. If you want peace, be peaceful. If you want love, be loving. You reap what you sow. It's in the Bible. And that's said in many ways in different spiritual texts and scriptures. You always reap what you sow. And oftentimes we're trying to shift things at the level of effect rather than cause. Well, the cause is that deeper. It's the seeds inside of you. It's your mental attitude, it's your belief, it's your thoughts. That's the core cause of all of the effects, right? Every cause has an effect. Well, that is your life. And you get to be really diligent about, okay, like if there's something I'm not loving, take an empowered stance of, okay, let me start to look in my garden, because you are a fertile garden, Eden, and just look where some of the soil needs to be tilled and tended, some things uprooted and new seeds planted. Like a new belief that life has your back. That's a seed. That we live in a benevolent universe. That's a seed. Also a seed is, I'm never going to get there. It never works for me. Life is hard. I never have enough energy. Those are all seeds. And the thing about complaining is that the more that you complain about what the results you don't like, the more it will create more of that energy. So here's a big shift, you all. I really want you to get this, okay? I want to invite you into loving the game of life more fully. Loving the game of life. And what I mean by that, because I could expand on the game of life and just there's so much to love, that we have this playground that we get to create and enjoy and experience, and thank God we're given senses. Like that's so cool. Yeah, life has your back, Siobhan. Yes, life has your back. In Gabby Bernstein's words, the universe has your back. And I truly believe that. But the belief of it, like I believe that's inherently a truth, a universal law, but also your belief in something because you're made in the image and likeness of God is what will make something true. Now, it might not be a true with a capital T when you decide to believe something that's based in separation, but it'll still be true for you. That's part of what it means by you're made in the image and likeness of God. Okay. But loving the game of life, what that means is that when there's something that shows up in front of you that you don't love, some result, some way a person's behaving, you get to celebrate and love it because it's showing you where you get to have a shift, where you get to make a change. It's revealing to you that there's a seed, there's a cause, there's a belief, there's a thought that's not aligned with what you really want. And so rather than being upset with yourself or upset with the person or upset with life or like whatever narrative you go into, this again, loving the game of life means that it's like, oh my God, it's so cool that I got to see that like clearly I'm reaping what I sow. I'm receiving what I put out. So cool, I'm getting this mirror back to me that clearly I'm putting something out that I don't really want to receive back to me. And rather than be like, I fucking suck or blah, 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 be like, oh, just get curious and be like, wow, cool. This game is so perfectly designed that I get the feedback loop. That's all it is. It's feedback for your creation, for your creative process. And I think a lot of you get that to some level, but what I feel is missing for many is a joy and celebration of that, of like actually loving the way the game is designed. Because if your purpose is to awaken, is to remember who you really are, it's a move out of ego separation, fear, consciousness into creator consciousness, then everything that's not aligned with that are just opportunities, tools, instruments for you to tune your instrument a little more to that pole, to that frequency. And when that becomes fun, you're no longer a victim. When the game becomes fun, you're no longer a victim. Because then nothing is ever happening to you. It's always happening for you. And I know this can be hard to hear if you're like really in it and you're like, but you still really want to blame your trauma and you still really want to blame your parents. And you can hate me. You can project all your fuck you. I had it harder. My life's harder. You didn't have this. You can play that game if you want to. It doesn't impact me. And I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at just like how perfectly designed the game is and how we so want to be righteous in our victim. Because I don't even say because, but it gives your power away. Don't you want to have power? Don't you want to feel empowered? Don't you want to feel like no matter what has happened to you? And for sure, me and many of us have had some shitty things happen. Okay, we can't deny that. And yes, there's healing needed. I've done a lot of healing. And so when I say to get rigorous about noticing the seeds that you're planting, that can look a lot of ways to actually be able to truly uproot them. So this is a lifelong journey, but that's a commitment. It's a way of being in the world. You know, I've worked with many different types of healers. I've gone to all kinds of ceremonies. I've done so many detoxes and cleanses and 10-day water fasts and, you know, gone to sacred sites around the world and done crazy, weird plant medicine ceremonies and purged and like all kinds of stuff, you guys, to heal. But what's interesting, and it's all led me to this moment, but actually, I think a lot of it was unnecessary. Because a lot of it was done out of something's wrong with me. I didn't understand the game. I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have a guide that really helped me understand. And some people, like even like Monica, my sister, my friend here, she like had less forgetfulness in her life around being the creator and had a more deep relationship with God throughout her life. And even Marianne Williamson, who came on, said that she's like, she grew up in a household where she actually had a beautiful relationship with God. And so some of you had less forgetfulness. That wasn't as much of your path. For me, I had a path of a lot of forgetfulness. Like I was raised in a household where we didn't have any spirituality. God wasn't talked about. So I didn't have any dogma or anything to overcome, which is cool. You know, some people grow up in churches and religions that like, it's very controlling. But I've had to actually like be in this process of remembering who I am. And my sense is that many of you that are here are in that, have been in that same journey. And you're really like, there's a longing in you, right? There's this like longing to know who you really are, to know God, to know yourself as the creator. You know that you're not here to suffer. But sometimes there's this disconnect between like, okay, I know that, but I'm still suffering. I'm still not happy with the results. I still don't have the relationship. I still don't, whatever it is. And so I hope that some of this wisdom and guidance is giving you little perspective shifts, because oftentimes, like the things that have made the biggest difference for me over recent years, you know, I stopped going towards plant medicine ceremonies and these big experiences so much. And I've just been like settling into these simple truths and focalizing them in my life, giving them energy, meditating on them. And it's made a huge shift for me. Yeah, embodying them, exactly. And it's in those subtle, it's in those in-between moments. Like I get opportunities, we get opportunities all the time to practice. And it's the energy and the perspective that we bring to those moment by moment things that create the whole tapestry of our life. Hi, Brandon. Oh, I'm so excited to introduce you to our next guest. I actually want to, I know we're a little bit early, but Brandon, do you feel ready? Do you want to dive in? Yeah. Okay, great. So that's perfect. And then we can have a little bit of a break between you and Emily. So we have two amazing guests today, because you know how blessed you are. You all just keep getting the best of the best. You just keep getting served and blessed up and filled, like spoken into. So all of you, you know, I'm talking in this session about you reap what you sow. And I know a lot of you, there's shifts you want in your life and there's results you're not super stoked on, but clearly you showed up here to receive all of this goodness, all of this beauty, all of this love from all of these incredibly generous people that have come on. This is a gift. You know, everyone just showed up as a gift of generosity. And so I invite you to take that in this moment, like focalize that, build up that knowing. Can you receive it like it's a gift? Because it is from your soul. Like you called this in and it showed up in front of you. And then you did the courageous thing of actually showing up to receive it, because many people signed up and then didn't actually create the space for them to receive what's here for them. So often we have a prayer and someone shows up in front of us to potentially make that prayer made manifest, but we don't have the time, we don't have the energy, we're too busy, we're too whatever to actually see that all these angels are coming up in front of us to give us what we want. So with that being said, Brandon, do you want to change your name on your little thing? You don't have to, but we can bring Ash in. So Brandon, those are welcome. You guys, this man is such a spectacular soul, such an incredible heart. He's an amazing guide, teacher, coach. And he's the kind of person that every time I'm with him, he mirrors to me. And it's not like he's acknowledging me, but just in his beingness, he mirrors to me who I really am. I see God in myself through his own embodiment. And he has this way of translating things like A Course in Miracles in a way that just lands. You know, like what I was just saying is sometimes we just need these little perspective shifts. And if you just really meditated and lived that phrase, that spiritual law, your whole life would shift. He's full of those. We're just like, oh, that. So welcome. It's so good to have you here, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Charlene. And good to see some familiar faces. Monica, good to see you. Yeah, really excited to be here.
Where are you? I'm just curious.
I am in Northern California. I'm about, 4 days fresh. This is one of my first interactions with people besides my family that I'm visiting since leaving a 4-day Vision Quest water fast in the desert. So that's where I'm at.
Beautiful. Wow. Here you are new. And I just, for everyone, this is something I spoke to when I did Sweat Lodge the other day, which is that something I see is that while in our day to day, our spiritual practice can be simple, but we do need to invest, right? Like actually like do more than is just the bare minimum to stay sane, to actually become awakened. It requires things like a vision fast. And so maybe you could just speak a bit into your intention around that and what catalyzed your choice to invest that time, that energy, and be in such a like what do you want to call it? It's a rigorous container. It's a it like is not just a fun, joyful. It's really in service to a greater vision and goal that you have for your life.
Yeah. Well, what I realized is if you want to take a measurement, so to say, of how things are going internally, see how long you could sit in silence with no agenda. And because what surfaces is going to be everything that is already running in the background that your attention is not focused on. And so the desert is really about meeting who you are and meeting who you're not, and really having nowhere to turn and nothing to do, because in the desert it's so still that you can actually hear the silence. I mean, it's just completely open. And so anything that's not still or silent within yourself has to come to the surface to be met. And my experience or my intention was, can I meet all parts of myself with compassion, with honesty, feel the feelings that are uncomfortable and not run and not avoid. But then can I penetrate those beliefs and emotions and see my being on the other side of them, and have be in touch with my beingness, regardless of the conditions, regardless of the thoughts and emotions, regardless of the weather, mentally, emotionally speaking, or even physically speaking, to be able to bring that, to the village, to the world, at a more embodied, a more consistent, a more just at a new depth. And so that was my intention. And one of the things that I'll say too is, I think one of the topics I shared with you, Charlene, about this event specifically was ending the world. And to me, the desert is, or just sitting in stillness with the tools of inquiry, being able to question your mind, question your thinking, is putting an end to your personal world, which is the only world that we have contact with. There's 8 billion different worlds on the planet, close to 8 billion. And that's the only one we need to change, and it's like, if I wanted to change the world, change my beliefs about the world, and then the world changes. And so, yeah, that was my experience.
Wow. Will you speak more into that? We've been talking about this a lot, actually. And, we had a couple activists. We had Marianne Williamson on, who, intimately through her work. And that she plays this archetype that's very much of activists. And it's like this out, the traditional activism is this very outward, like we've got to do something. And I think that there's a value, and she lit a fire under us. But I actually personally have a little bit of a different perspective around my form of activism. But I'd love for you to share about like land that for people.
Yeah, it's really good. So I can't know for sure because I'm not Marianne Williamson, but I would assume that she remains in touch with the part of herself that is not, and so the desert world. And by doing so, she can say yes to, and really having nowhere to turn, getting some feedback. And by doing so, she can say yes to, and really having nowhere to turn, getting some feedback.
Around San Brandon is
by
pretty
doing
cool.
so, she
My
can,
higher self, this self, the past self, all coming together.
Okay. So yeah, I would presume that Marianne is in touch with herself. And what does that mean? That means you can have a fierce yes to something, or no. similar to, you know, how a lion would protect their cubs, and yet know that salvation, or your sense of peace, or really the world's sense of peace, which, see, we'd only want to change something in the world if we assumed it's going to bring us more peace and happiness. So if we're in touch with ourselves, then instead of doing something as a means to peace, happiness, or freedom, we are peace, happiness, and freedom. And now we're doing what peace, happiness, and freedom does. And that means systems, agreements, politics, whatever it is, that aren't in alignment with the essential self that we all share, we almost instinctually go out and transform them, but not as a means to an end, which is where a lot of activists stay. Once we do this, then everything will be okay. Until then, I'm going to be stressed. I'm going to be worried. I'm going to be anxious. I'm going to be angry. And so the game we're presented is, especially as those of you that might identify as awake, would say, well, the game is, oh, look, I can see things in the world a lot of people can't see. So it may be my responsibility to make some changes in the world. That's the game. But the game of the game is, where does the world reflect my inner state that reveals to me where I'm not free? And if I can take on my own personal freedom as number one priority, then the rest has to self-organize. And the willpower it takes energizes me, doesn't drain me. So these are all things you can use to measure, man, where am I coming from? Am I coming from wanting to get somewhere? Because it's like, if I'm here and I think I need to go to there, eventually I have to realize that there is actually here. That I actually don't want to get there. I want to get here. I really want to be here. So as long as there's a there to get to, well, there's always going to be a there to get to, right? It's actually at an infinite distance from us. That's how far away a future is. Why? Because it doesn't exist. So it's like, am I doing these things for its own sake, for a more impersonal reason? The personal reason usually goes, there's something in this for me. I'm going to gain something. I'm going to get something. The impersonal reason goes, I'm not too sure why I'm doing this. I just feel absolutely on fire. I feel like to not do this would cause resistance in my being. So then you're more moving into an allowing of action. And what that actually feels like is you're not even doing it. And that's when in the East, they call it non-doership. And there was many times in the desert where I was walking and I would have this moment of going, my God, I'm not walking. I'm not the one. Like this character called Brandon is not walking. I'm being walked, and would just watch my feet one after another walk in amazement. Like, wow, where's it going to go? Where am I going to go? And having such absolute presence that in that moment, my world was ended, meaning there was no past, there was no future. So that whole world of past and future, where I'm going, where I'm from, ended. And what's in the absence of that time and space projection of our mind? Peace, wonder. So anything I do from that is going to contain peace and wonder. And what makes things go viral, what really hits home with someone coming from a state of peace and wonder. So that is our number one priority, in my opinion. That's the game of the game, not let me make sure X, Y, and Z happens, because I can't control that. Let me be myself as fully as I can.
You were sharing about how the world reflects to us where we're not free inside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be hard for people to grasp on the bigger systems, the things that just feel so far from where someone thinks that they're operating. And so can you share a bit more about, and you can maybe do it in the more micro, okay, someone shows up in front of you, a partner, a friend, and that's kind of like the smaller level of it. It can be a little bit easier to see that, but also how you are orienting as the world and all of its craziness as a reflection for you to see where you're not free inside of yourself.
Yeah. So I would just change the statement a little bit. It's like someone's showing up in front of me. I would question the belief that they're a someone that is outside of me showing up in front of me, meaning I'm only experiencing my version of them. right? I can't actually, it's like two people have really never met, because I'm getting my version of you, you're getting my version of me. So we're meeting really ourselves through each other. And so person shows up, and how I perceive them, how I am towards them, is my entrance to heaven or hell, which is connection or disconnection. And so if I'm entering disconnection, it's not because of who they're being, it's because of my story about who they're being. And my story about who they're being has to be rooted in my past, if it's negative. So if I'm creating a negative story about someone, I'm just copy and pasting a past onto them. And that the service of that is I won't be able to see clearly until I have cleansed and transformed everything from my past, because the world will be my past until it's not. So that means, and you without a past is also you without a future. So you without a past is you without a future. What would it feel like to live without a future or without a past? You know, total liberation. So the world is conspiring to free us, right, from our past, so we don't have to live in a future. So we can really be here now and see clearly. And when we see clearly, what we see is that reality is kind. Reality is loving. My pain does not originate from something outside of my own thinking mind. You know, so anytime that I think it does, what's happening is I'm saying this thing here is wrong. It's oppressing me. And because of that, I'm not free to live the life I want to live. And if I can't live the life I want to live, that means I'm powerless. Well, those thoughts aren't contained in the circumstance. It's not like I'm extracting that from the circumstances of my life. No, the circumstances are revealing where that subconscious tape is playing in the background. And so instead of, you know, like one practical takeaway, if you're watching this, would just be, okay, the moment I feel stress, remind myself, I'm not seeing clearly, right? I'm confused because I'm thinking something beyond my own thinking mind is the cause of my suffering. And to believe that is to create separation. Oh, there's a thing out there that is bigger, you know, more powerful than I am. And that's what a lot of, you know, if you want to use the word, any sort of oppressor wants you to believe, because we can really at the core level only oppress ourselves. And so the gift of that is to use that to liberate ourselves. And that gives permission to an oppressor, whatever it might be be liberated as well. You know, because then we start to see most likely what's underneath their behavior is the same thing underneath ours, some sense of powerless, some sense of disconnection. And if I'm not holding on to that very tight, then the people around me, it's very hard for them to hold on to it very tight as well.
Because you're not giving your power away to anyone. I just want to underline everything you just said was so powerful, but that the world is conspiring to free you. The world is conspiring to free you. And that anytime you're stressed or having any suffering state, it's just the mind confused because it thinks that something else caused it, where only we're at cause. That, and like to really be in the knowingness of just how powerful you are. And so, Brandon, when you notice that you're in stress or any type of suffering state, any type of disconnect state, and you go through that process of acknowledging, okay, there's confusion here. I forgot who I really am. I'm in separation. Is there, like, let's say it's, sometimes that's enough, right? Sometimes just that awareness is like enough to cause choice. And sometimes when you're in it or someone's in it and it's a little bit like, what would you say is a way that can really return somebody to their own source, their own center in those moments when they are in a big experience and it does feel like something's just so dang hard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good. So this was the majority of my experience in the desert, was really not doing anything besides drinking water and going to the bathroom and in between just being. And so when something came up, and you know, I've studied inquiry, because what you're pointing at, Charlene, is okay, now that we have that context of what's the source of suffering, and technically what's the cause and nature of happiness, because the nature of happiness is just what's there on the other side of suffering. So if I know that my believing my thoughts, believing my stories about reality causes my suffering, then I know that when I let those go, then in the absence of that is peace and happiness. It's not in reality, it's not in an outcome. So now the question becomes, okay, what's the process where I can get from disconnection to connection? And I call that inquiry, or my version of it that I've kind of adopted over the last 4 years is integrated inquiry, that uses a baseline understanding of trauma, a progressive approach of working with thoughts and emotions in the body, and then a direct line of questioning that works with the core identity of who am I? So typically, if you're new to this work, I'll start with thoughts and emotions and use that to trace yourself back to your being, to your awareness, which awareness itself never holds anything. It's never agitated by our experience. It's like the TV screen to a movie. The movie could have bombs going off. And does the screen care? Does the screen mind? No. In fact, it doesn't even register that there's bombs going off. It's just this clear, transparent space that's infinitely close to what's happening, but is unaffected. So that's where inquiry ends. When we almost discover all of the beliefs and emotions in the way of our being, and the light of our being shines through, it washes away the stress and the suffering. And a lot of times that results in tears or some sort of release, or even sweating. So some of the questions that I ask, the first thing that I do is, if I notice stress, I completely remove any sense of cause and effect. So instead of saying, oh, this person is causing this because of blank and blank, and go to past, I just find the sensation in my body. And now it's more of a wordless process. But at first it was really like looking at the part of my mind that wants to blame this on someone, and then letting that be put aside for a moment. But I take it out of time, really. This was not caused by anything. This is just here right now. And I'm going to investigate and see if this is a threat to me right now. So that's the first thing. Let me investigate if the sensation itself is a threat. If I need to run from this, if I need to do something about it, because that moment is our entire life. If I run away from it, well, I might have been doing that for the last 30 years. And that could look like smoking, drinking, social media scrolling. And I could watch my whole life of habits play out. My lack of sleep, my disconnection. So that's the very important moment. And it does require, to a certain degree in the beginning, a type of, not a huge fan of the word discipline, but a type of spiritual discipline to go in the opposite direction of what you've been conditioned to go in. So in that moment, it's okay. Let's say there's something arising in my solar plexus. I'll put my hands there. I'll close my eyes and I'll just give the area my attention, really with no agenda. I don't need to get rid of you. In fact, I need to be so comfortable with you that I'm okay with you never leaving me. That's the degree of acceptance I need to get to with the sensation. This can stay. So I might just ask a couple questions. Am I in danger? Is this destroying me? Is this annihilating me? And in that, getting really close to it, typically what happens is it starts to open and move. And then I can start to, in a healthy way, begin to disassociate my identity from it. I'm not the sad person. That's not who and what I am. I am aware of this sensation called sadness. And a lot of times I don't even use words like sadness. I get to a very basic movement in stomach, aliveness in gut. That's what's happening. That's reality without a story. So once I can get to that place and I start to relax and really let myself be in the emotion, then I start the inquiry process. I love Byron Katie's 4 questions. They're incredible. It's a great way to, write. Sometimes that's enough. I'll just say that, by the way. But sometimes you really need to identify the belief and question if it's true, if it's a fact, or if it's just a belief. And so there's the 4 questions of Byron Katie, which is it true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? What do I do when I believe that thought? And who would I be without the thought? Really beautiful questions. Why I love them so much is when I believe the thought and I bring light to what I do, it shows my entire life. If I can envision myself without the thought, that shows me an entire new life. And it shows me that the crux of my life depends on me believing or questioning my thinking. So it's going from a closed mind and closed heart to an open mind and open heart in which we can see a totally new possibility. And that feels like freedom. That feels like peace. And that's synonymous to being. So when you get to the question, who would I be without this thought? If I couldn't believe that I'm unworthy, who would I be without the thought in this situation? Oh, I'd just be myself. Well, when we all say the same thing, freedom, peaceful, myself, that's because we're all describing our shared being, our shared awareness, the one, right? And then the qualities of that one shared awareness. And so you can use the thought, you could use the emotion, get in touch and kind of dissolve the emotion, identify the thoughts, question if they're true. And this is where, I can give you the 4 questions of Byron Katie, but if you don't actually do the work yourself, you can really stay on the surface with things. So it takes a certain understanding and practice to really learn how to dig and find what's underneath the surface and bring those into the light. And really, it's like in A Course in Miracles, it says, don't attempt to purify yourself and then come to me. Come to me, I'm the purifier. So what does that mean? My job isn't to get rid of the beliefs. My job isn't to heal myself. My job is to expose them in the light of my awareness. And just like turning the light on in the dark, the light and the dark don't have to battle. Just lights on. So as long as I'm allowing myself to just bring these thoughts and emotions to the light of my awareness, I will slowly trace myself back into just pure being. And then we experience peace, happiness, relief, or whatever it may be. So there's a summary of how it works.
Thank you for sharing that. And it kind of expanded on what I was sharing right before you came on about how my spiritual practice in many ways is very simple now. It is just living more aware.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could, that is the practice. And sometimes there's these bigger experiences, like a 10-day water fast for you, the vision quest. And there's space for that, right? To really like clear out. But on a day-to-day, it's like, I trust that if I'm just bringing more awareness, more consciousness to everything that I do, that I become more of who I really am for that process, because things just get worked out. And the more I return to my true identity, the more God's spirit, things just get worked out without me having to heal them. Like I've done so many healing processes that now from where I'm at, I think are unnecessary. Not to say I'm in a space for particular healing, but it's like the healing happens by just like me giving my life over to God and returning to myself as made in the image and likeness of God. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Charlene, if I could just add something to that, because that's really powerful. The healing trap that I've seen and that I've personally been in is trying to heal the ego. Now, the ego doesn't exist. If you go, man, what's my ego? And you go, oh, well, the ego is usually what we refer to when we're upset as ourselves. Man, I'm a really upset and angry person. Okay, so that's a character called Brandon who has these traits. And what is it made of? Thoughts and feelings. And we could say actions, but just basically thoughts and feelings. So right in that moment, you're saying Brandon is some sort of combination of thoughts and feelings. Now, why does it not exist as who you truly are? Because number one, the thoughts and feelings are always changing. So if it was really you, as soon as they changed, you would change. You'd be gone. Thoughts gone, you're gone. Second is, if you can observe the thoughts and emotions, well, then they're obviously not you because you are observing them, right? So when you go, oh, look, this is who I am. I'm this person that needs to be fixed. If you meet the ego on the level of the ego and try to fix the ego, and usually what does that look like? Change your thoughts, change your emotions. Then you're going to be changing thoughts and emotions your whole life and never going anywhere, versus exposing the ego. And that comes down to some deeper questions. Okay, who am I? Brandon, I'm upset. I'm an upset and angry person. Okay, who's the one that is Brandon that I'm referring to in that statement? Who is that? When I say I'm an angry and upset person, Who's the I that I'm referring to? And that's the more direct approach into our sense of identity. Because if we start to go, well, I'm not the thoughts because I'm the one that's aware of the thoughts. I'm not my body's sensations because I'm the one that's aware of my body's sensations. And there's nothing else to my experience besides thinking and sensing. So where's this Brandon character if it's not thinking and it's not sensing? And all there is beyond that is awareness. Where's this separate Brandon character that is the one that is an angry and bad person? It's like my emotions aren't angry. My emotions themselves, they're just body responding to thoughts. It's not like my certain part of my body's like, I'm really angry with you. No, it can't be. My thoughts themselves aren't angry. It's not like a floating thought. It's like, man, I'm just really frustrated today. So thoughts that don't have these characteristics, our body doesn't have these characteristics. We assign all of these personal characteristics to our ego. And when we investigate and go, who is that person I've been calling Brandon? And we see it's not there. Then there's liberation in that moment. We go, oh my God, I've been believing myself into existence as a separate person. That's been the source of my pain. So why do I even need to change my thoughts and emotions if I realize that the person that I thought I was doesn't even exist? Therefore, everything attached to the person it is no longer attached to me. I've, in a healthy way, removed my identity from the content of my experience, and therefore it can't grip me. And I can watch, and I can observe, and I can allow. And the paradox is that's when things transform. That's when, in Buddhism, they say reality liberates itself. You don't have to do anything. It's self-liberating. So that's when you let reality liberate itself, and things move and alchemize, and you're just witnessing the beauty of reality from awareness, not from this little isolated Brandon that has a past and a future. No, that world has ended. And therefore the eternal world of awareness, the infinite world of awareness has opened, in which I have no limitations. And so that's the dance that we're in. I experienced limitation to trace myself back to my unlimited being. And every time I do that, I get a little better at it, happens a little faster. And then sometimes it happens without words. I just acknowledge my experience and boom, I zoom back out, not from running, not from avoiding, actually from the opposite, from totally embracing and non-resisting.
So I really hope that landed for everyone, because this shift in perspective has changed my entire life. And I believe it will change everyone's life, because it's this fundamental shift in the way that we orient that a lot of the healing and spiritual and self-development communities are actually just bolstering up the ego, whether that's through motivation or that's through basically there's something wrong. Anytime we're trying to fix something's wrong, you're believing what's not true, because the ego creates separation. And so anytime you're working at the level, you're just believing what's actually not real. And so it can never even be truly resolved. And so that shift to what's real is the resolution, not the focusing on and healing and trying to fix. And this has been big for me. So I'm like, well, if there's a result I don't like, I need to focus on it, right? But actually this shift to I think there's different ways you could describe it, but I feel like it's like a shift in acknowledgement of our own identity. And you even said that it's like the return to our core identity. And so maybe you can wrap up this session by sharing, and you're a student of the Course in Miracles. And to me, that body of work has already been deepening my understanding of what I believe is truth with a capital T of who we all are truly. And I actually wish I had more people just speak that into me. And maybe it was, and at certain levels of my journey, I wasn't ready to believe it as true. But the more I hear it, the more I'm like, yeah, that feels real. The separation of something is wrong doesn't actually feel true, because it makes me not feel good.
Yes.
It's contracted. So if you could share what's, and then watch everyone as you, if you get even out of the thinking mind and listen to him share, speak into you of who you really are, just notice the expansion that will probably happen in your system or in your heart. And so if you would just wrap with that and kind of speak into our hearts.
Yeah. Well, Charlene, you said something that's so powerful. And actually, I first heard this from you, that truth is sensational. That's stuck with me because it's so true. Because the moment I felt it, I was totally, in a beautiful sensory just opening. And so in one of the chapters of my book, the chapter is called, well, the gateway of the chapter is called See What Is Real, or Seeing What Is Real Dissolves What Is Unreal. So instead of trying to get rid of the lies and the negative thinking and this and that, just see what's real. And what's real is that which doesn't change ever in our experience. And that which was never born, that which can never die, that which is not limited. That's the most real reality that we can get to, is the one that's eternal and infinite. And what is that one reality? It's our consciousness. It's awareness. And when you investigate awareness, let me put it this way, because I want to tie truth in. Anything coming from the state of being that arises when you're in touch with your being, it's like looking at a sky and seeing the clouds. Is my attention on the clouds, my thoughts and emotions and my circumstances? And is it allowing me to blot out the vast blue sky of my being? Or am I realizing, even if the whole sky is full of clouds, my being is still there? The sky doesn't disappear. It's vast and open. So am I in touch with that? And if I am in touch with that, then whatever I acknowledge in myself or in the world has to be based in truth. And my definition of truth is that which sets you free. So whatever I do, whatever I believe, whatever I choose, as I'm in touch with my being, contains the sensational opening that truth does. And so when people say, what do you do? Depends on who I'm talking to, is, well, I help people tell the truth about themselves and about reality. And that truth is whatever is you typically buried underneath all of this conditioning, that as soon as it's acknowledged, what happens to the conditioning? It just crumbles. You're not doing that, are you? Truth is doing that. Freedom is doing that. Grace is doing that. So we're getting to a path of least effort. I'm not the one that needs to work so hard to do this and do that. No. I'm here to shift perception to that which does it all for me. And then we move into our life from that place as not this primary one that needs to do everything and it requires all of this effort, but we're being done, by life, by indescribable amount of input and variables that create this tidal wave of life flowing in your direction, called the Monica path, the Charlene path. And we're going, you know what? I'm just going to trust that. And I'm going to go with that. And what I found is, in surrendering to that, it's more exciting than we could ever imagine. It's like I could sit here and have the most grand vision and dream for my life, and the natural current of being in non-resistance is going to take me places 10 times more expansive. And sometimes your ego needs to prove that to yourself. But what I love about these stories is typically these events is you hear stories of people that have surrendered and have had far beyond the limitations of their imagination realized and experienced over and over and over and over again. That's the beauty of it, man. When I really stop efforting and resisting, the kingdom, right, it's given unto me. It's like, wow. So yeah,
it was always there. We just couldn't see it, couldn't receive it.
Yeah.
You just said when you were sharing, I just got one of those golden codes that so many people say, but I just got it in a whole new way. The truth will set you free.
Yes.
So often that's perceived as, let me be honest with people. And usually people, when they say, I want to speak my truth, it's actually, you're speaking your ego onto people, thinking you're giving feedback. But like, notice the part of you that's like, I want to speak my truth. It's like, well, what truth? I hardly even give people feedback around me anymore. There was a phase of my life where I thought we need to give each other more feedback. We need to hold each other accountable, hold a higher bar. And that was a beautiful moment. And now I'm like, I just want to reflect to people that they're God. And so rather, I don't even really give people feedback anymore. Now, if I have a specific ask with a collaboration, like I will do that, but actually the feedback I give is like, I just see you as God. You're so beautiful. Like I lift up that part because that's actually the truth. And that is the truth that will set all of us free. Truth will set you free. So that just landed in me in a whole new way, like, oh, see, it's written all around us. That's what I've been saying, you guys. It's written in all the texts and all the scriptures. All the laws have been affirmed across time. The blueprint has actually been given to us.
Yeah.
Just for us to actually like interpret for ourselves and then embody.
Yeah. And, I would even take the statement one step further. The truth will set us free. The truth will reveal our freedom. So it's like setting us free means our ego, at one point we were not free. And although that may be true in our direct experience, the fact that we're experiencing ourselves as not free is a lie, is an illusion. So it's not a real fact about who we are, that we can go from being free to not free. It's just we have the power to create the illusion of being bound and limited. And when some sort of truth comes in, what happens is those thoughts and emotions temporarily dissolve. And then the light of our being comes in. We go, oh man, me without these thoughts, me without these emotions is free. So that truth helped, again, discover the freedom within me that was always there. Blue sky never went away. I was just completely captured by my experience and I lost touch with myself. And that's in A Course in Miracles. They say that's what a miracle worker is. It doesn't matter if you're a plumber, if you're, working at a restaurant, if you're a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter your profession, because your true profession is to work miracles and to extend that truth and freedom to others. And I think that's what all of you are all doing. So
thank you so much. You are such a gem. I love this time. And I'm seeding this publicly right now, but we'll have to talk later. I would love to have you in. I'm hosting an initiation. It's called Threshold. And it's really an initiation, a process into more deeply embodying everything that we just shared. And there's going to be a live event in Austin. And I want you there. I want more people to get to receive you. So I'm going to follow up with you about how we can maybe leave you in, but you are a really clear transmission of truth. How impactful was that for everyone? And Facebook, YouTube, Zoom here, you can only see Zoom, but I'll make sure to share all of the comments from Facebook and YouTube and just, and I'll share with everyone how to connect with you, Brandon. But did you mention a book? Is it out?
It's not out yet. It's not out. I realize now in hindsight, I had to go through the desert to write the book. I got to bring the desert to the book. So just stay tuned. It will be coming out this year.
Okay, great. And if you wanted to, you didn't give me a gift to offer. If you wanted to share something, just send it to me and I'll make sure everyone gets it. Okay?
Yeah. And on my website, I have a self-inquiry workshop that you guys could check out, where I break down inquiry a lot more in detail. So that's there as well. And my site is just my first and last name, BrandonBozarth.com.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Charlene. Thanks, everyone.
And I hope you're blessed with unexpected miracles today.
Thank you.
Bye, honey. Okay, we have our next amazing guest. Woo, that was powerful, right? Emily, who's going to bring us into our own magnetism. Hello, love. How do you see your last name?
Herrera.
Okay, great. I thought it better than to ask than to try to butcher it. Welcome, beautiful soul. I'm so grateful to have you. Emily is an incredible love coach, both for loving oneself and also to attracting, receiving, and being in divine partnership. And right now she's going to share a practice with us. That's like one of the core pieces, that whether it's you're attracting a love relationship or a new job or like whatever it is that you're desiring, at the core is like, we get to be magnetic in our life. Brianna was just talking about the path of most ease and that freedom's always there. And then there's actual tools and practices that we can do to kind of activate that inherent power that's always there, which is that we are magnetic beings. And so I'll let you take us away from here. Emily, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here with all you beautiful beings this morning on the final day of this epic event. And I'm really excited to take you through this powerful embodiment practice that works with the neuroplasticity of the brain to hone your manifestation skills so you can really walk into that epic life that is waiting for you. So before we jump in, it's important to understand that being magnetic and manifesting are very different than, what most of us have been taught about getting ahead, achieving our dreams. And really, we've been parented by the patriarchy that, the ethos of the patriarchy is like nose to the grindstone, hustle, no pain, no gain, and then hustle some more. And I know I did that for many years. Maybe you've tried that too. And you have learned that it really wreaks havoc on life, your body, your health, and you can still end up without a life that feels super enlivening and fulfilling. So there is another way that I'm going to show you now. And today's practice is going to activate one of your most trusted assets when it comes to manifesting your dream life, your intuition. So when it's switched on, that's when you suddenly get these hits, right? It's like, oh, I need to go to that party. I'm so tired. I'm in my pajamas and I do not want to go out, but something's telling me I need to go to that party. Or I need to sit at this coffee shop for 10 more minutes. I don't know why. Or I need to go on that retreat. And then it's like you end up there at that place and you connect with the person that introduces you to your future business partner, or you connect with an investor for your company or the love of your life. So I'm just going to share with you a short little example from my own life to help, make this real. Right before my 38th birthday, I got one of those hits to go to Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, and to go alone. And none of this made logical sense because I had just gotten back from Costa Rica. I'd been leading a retreat in a different part of Costa Rica. And just timing, none of the things made sense, but the message came through very clearly. And I was supposed to go to Costa Rica, to Santa Teresa, a town I hadn't been to in 16 years, and I needed to go alone. And so I followed that hit and I came, and there was just a series of events. It was like synchronicities and synergies were all lining up. And one day I was standing at the edge of this path on the way to go surfing, and this charming French surfer walked up next to me, and he kind of encouraged me to go. It looked big and windy and scary, but he kind of encouraged me to go out with him. And that turned into an invitation to dinner. And then we were spending a lot of time together over the next couple of days. And we ended up doing an ayahuasca ceremony together. And that turned into an invitation to take a trip around the country, surfing. And then that ended up with an invitation after 2.5 whirlwind romance to come back to the jungle and make a bebe. And that was 6 years ago. We now have 2 beautiful children. We've built a beautiful sacred geometry retreat center here in Costa Rica. And we just became the stewards of 200 acres of wild jungle, where we are building a world-class retreat and wellness center in a conscious community. So everything that I have manifested, really, I can thank for my intuition, my beautiful intuition. Intuition is like your personal GPS system that guides you to the people, the places, and spaces that really speak to your soul's deepest desires. So for today's mini workshop, we are going to be working with the Gateless method, which is a revolutionary writing methodology. And studies show that those who write consistently accelerate to new places and spaces in their lives far more than people that don't play with the written word. So this is not about being a good writer. This is just merely about this master healer, this master manifester that is at our fingertips. So Gateless is so powerful because it works with a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. And this part of the mind is like a really good employee. It's gonna, like, whatever you give it, it's gonna take it and run with it. It's gonna amplify it. It's gonna make it happen. This is really the neuroscience behind that well-known phrase, what you focus to grows. So how it's going to work is I'm going to drop you into the somatic body with a little bit of breathing and a meditation. And then there's going to be a writing prompt. And when you hear this prompt, I want you to just rise to the page with whatever comes forth. You absolutely cannot do this wrong. Okay? So any questions about anything I shared before we get going? Feel free to, I'll just check the chat real quick. See if there's any, okay. Alrighty. So you can just write on your computer, or if you prefer pen and paper, great time to grab that. The writing is called the gateless method. And I've been trained in this and teaching it for the past 8 years in my programs and on my retreats. And it's magic. People quantum leap in their life from this magical methodology that was actually channeled from. So, okay. I would like to invite you all to close your eyes and take a nice deep cleansing breath in, rolling your shoulder blades back and down, and just let everything go. One more nice deep cleansing breath in, relaxing your brow, relaxing your jaw, and let it go. And one more nice deep cleansing breath in, really filling up your lungs. Hold it at the top. Take one more little sip of air and think of something you have gratitude for in this moment. And let it go. And just notice how your lungs rise and fall with the power of your breath. Now travel to the top of your head. Relax your brain. The brain needs to rest. Release the back of your eyes and your cheeks and your tongue. And notice all the parts together now as whole. Feel your mouth as sensation, as energy. Release your neck and take another nice deep breath in, rolling your shoulder blades back and down once more. And as you exhale, imagine a wave passing downward through your body, carrying away any tensions that you may have. And as you inhale, a fresh wave flows upward through your body, bringing a sense of calm to every cell. And now travel down to your heart. Relax the back of your heart, the front of your heart, the right side, and then the left. Bring your awareness to your feet now. Notice that your feet are planted there very strongly, that they have walked many miles, that they have held you when you've had to stand for hours. Think of all of the steps that you took today that led you here to this moment. Coming up to the ankles now. Think of all you've been able to do with the flexibility of your ankles and your knees and the strength of your thighs supporting your body. Send some gratitude to your spine that allows you to walk upright. Take a moment to appreciate how much blood the heart has pumped, the digestive system has digested, the liver has detoxed, the kidneys have filtered 24/7, 365 days a year, every second since you were born. Coming up to your hands, think of all that your hands have done and got you and all of the things that you're able to do because you have hands. And your lungs that make it possible for you to take in oxygen and breathe life into all of your cells and exhale the waste. What a magnificent system. Now travel back up to the brain. Holy cow, think of all the brain has done, a supercomputer beyond comprehension, and how much your ears have heard. Think of what your eyes have seen and what your tongue has tasted and the last time you smelled something really delicious. And now I want you to fall back in time to a moment when you stepped off a metaphorical ledge or even a cliff. A time when you felt an intuitive quickening towards something that wasn't a sure thing, but decided against all odds to go for it. When you rise to the page, ground yourself with the details of that day, of that time. What season was it? Was there snow on the ground? Were buds blooming on the trees? What were you wearing? Did you have a scratchy dress on that you didn't like? What was on the radio? Ground yourself in the senses and tell the story about the time when you went for it. We'll have 10 minutes to write. I put the prompt in the chat if you want to read it again.
So most people can't see the chat, my love, because we're streaming to Facebook and YouTube. So if you just want to speak it out loud again, just to make sure everyone's really clear, that would be great.
Okay, if you've just joined, we're doing a little writing exercise. I want you to write about a moment when you stepped off a metaphorical ledge or even a cliff, a time when you felt an intuitive quickening towards something that wasn't a sure thing. And against all odds, you just went for it. And if you can rise to the page, ground in the details and the senses. What were you wearing? What was the air like outside? What were you listening to? Just a few more minutes. Okay, start wrapping up your final couple sentences. Okay. So now for this next step, we are going to read out loud. And I don't know if I'll have time for everybody to read out loud, but we're going to try to get there. And this is super, super powerful. So we have some guidelines that we're going to follow to keep our container really safe and loving. I'm going to pop them here in the chat so you can see them. But the first is no disclaiming, okay? Let the work stand alone. The second is really actively listen. Really actively listen when people are reading and also when you're receiving feedback from others. When we give feedback to others, we address the writer as the narrator. Okay, so I love how the narrator used vivid imagery of falling leaves to foreshadow that change was coming. Okay, we talk about the narrator. We don't say, I like how you did this. And we only comment on what has power, strength, and energy in each other's pieces. And what this does is it allows the reticular activating system to refocus to all the places that have power, strength, and energy within you. So those qualities step forth and you become a magnet for more of that to come into your life. Okay. And then no self-referencing. Oh, you know, I was in Bali in 2016 too. Oh, my aunt lives in Malibu. When the narrator is reading, it's about the narrator. Okay. Who would like to go first? Any volunteers? Remember, you're so safe on the page. It's going to feel like a love shower for you and your creativity, which is your essential self. Okay. Okay. Yay. Just unmute yourself. Tell me your name and then you can just start reading.
Hello, my name is Nicole, and it was fall, October. I was listening to Regan Hillier and Vishen podcasts in my car on my way to Prosper, which is a place I used to work. It was crisp outside. I was wearing comfortable clothes, and I decided it was time to trust the universe and quit Prosper. I started working at the health food store so I could be myself again, so I could be a coach again, so I could be whole again, so I could do Nicole Haggerty and help people and serve and be my highest self and love life and all humanity, so I could go out on my own and make real money by serving people and the planet and the cosmos, to become cosmocentric, to become my highest self, and to make endless money by serving and listening to my intuition and connecting to my divine and my guides and the God within me, to love myself and my family and my friends. I didn't know how these things would happen, but I trusted that they would and that they are. It's so beautiful. I love life, and to awaken to humanity and to my real purpose, to be better every day. So every day in every way, I am better, better, and better. And that's what I have.
I love how this narrator dropped us right into scene. We are right there with her. It's crisp outside. She's in the car and she was just like, I'm done. And it's like no luck or chance. It was fall and she's done. And it was like so symbolic of that happening. And I love the like chain of like, be myself, be a coach, be the highest self, be cosmocentric, like that whole chain of things. It just evoked so much energy, this piece. It was fantastic. I'm gonna maybe just we'll do one comment on each other's just in the interest of time. Is there somebody who just wants to comment on Nicole's piece? Just unmute yourself and just like one thing that stood out to you.
I love how the narrator was so clear about what was really true, like that connection to I am claiming what's real for me, the service, that you're better every day. Like there was just this deep knowing of what was possible and what you were creating and what the narrator was like such a yes to. And so I felt that power and that full yes and the full acknowledgement of what was possible by making that leap.
It's so beautifully said. And just because in the interest of time, we don't have time to go around and comment on everyone's, but if you want to drop like a couple words into the chat for Nicole, just of like something that popped out for you in her piece, I know she'd appreciate reading it. And we all benefit when we highlight stuff in other people's pieces, because then that becomes more present for us as well.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Who else would like to go?
Sivan, did you have your hand up before? Will you be our last person? Yeah, okay, great.
It was March 2022, and I felt an intuition to sign up to a Lisa Nicole's event of some sort. An advert appeared, and I felt the nudge, that small twinge in my stomach down to the left, to sign up and that great things would manifest. I didn't know how, but I had the feeling and I trusted the feeling. I had the feeling to wear a particular top to help me stand out online with lots of different people and to just play full out. And that somehow things would align and I would get to speak to her and ask her some burning questions that I had to help me with my coaching. And to benefit from the VIP ticket that I had for that online event, and that things would just keep manifesting this way. It happened, it unfolded perfectly, and even better than anything I could have imagined. It was guided by my intuition and listening to that voice, not doubting. And I felt the energy and the playfulness as I interacted, just like that. And making myself be fully seen and enjoying how things manifest when I show up like that. And I can't read the rest of the writing.
I love how this narrator like really articulated the subtle ways in the body that intuition presents itself, like the small twinge in the stomach down to the left. Like, oh my gosh, wow. And then just the things that followed as a result of her listening to that and not ignoring that or being too numb to feel those things. I thought that was really powerful. I think we're at time. So we are gonna need to wrap this up, but that was absolutely beautiful. And even if you guys didn't get the comments, you're still honing your reticular activating system to, oh, a time when I followed my intuition and it worked. So what that's gonna allow you to do is hear intuition more clearly as you move forth. And this is incredibly powerful practice. And the more that you do it, the stronger it's going to get. And it works for everything, anything you want to attune to. Another thing you can do in the mornings is to really start your day with, 10 things you have gratitude for and why. And that's going to like hone your reticular activating system to all the things that are wonderful in your life. And voila, you become a magnet for more wonderful things to come into your life. So if you want to know more about me and my story, I wrote a book called The Quest: From the Hollywood Hills to the Amazon Jungle, One Woman's Search for Enough. There was a lot that I moved through before I got to that place where I could hear the intuition and make the leap and create all of the wonderful things that I have now. And it's memoir. It's basically like a self-help book hidden in the pages of a really juicy story. So you can get this on Amazon. You can actually get the first 3 chapters for free on my website. It's emilypereira.com/read. And the ebook also just came out if you're less of a reader and more of a listener.
You mean the Audible book just came out?
Sorry, did I say ebook? The audio book just came out, yes.
Awesome. Did you read it? Did you narrate it?
Unfortunately, I did not. This is like what I hear from people the most is like, this reads like a screenplay. There are so many characters. There's so many accents. There are so many things. I was like, I think this might be out of my wheelhouse. And with COVID and everything, I couldn't find a studio here. But
you're great.
But,
Thank you so much for that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's such a good reminder, everyone, to just, what are you focusing on? Where the light of your awareness goes, it expands. I think I said this on the very first day. It's like, if you are paying attention to what you don't have and not enoughness and what you're complaining about, there's more of that. If you pay attention to gratitude and what's worked and how you can celebrate yourself, more of that, you become magnetic for more of it. And what's so cool, Emily, you didn't share the science of this, but you shared that this is backed in science. And what's awesome, y'all, is that so many of the things that spiritual teachers across time have been teaching and talking about are starting to be researched and proven with science. Science is always behind. Intuition is always ahead of science. Like the feminine, that is always ahead of logic, is always ahead of science. But then, so I like to think about intuitive logic, where it's like you really are cultivating your intuition, and then you use your brilliant intellectual mind to like support it and make sense of it and land it in the world. And so it's not that the intellect or the mind is bad or wrong, but if you don't have your intuition, you're usually going to use your mind, actually your ego. But the intuition is like spirit. It's like God speaking to you. It's affirming what's true. And then you use the power of your mind to act in accordance with that intuition. It's like, I like to think about the mind as a servant of the heart. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I just add on too that like when we get into that writing place, it's really like, that's when the essential self, which is the intuitive self, starts to come through. So the more that you write, because sometimes there's a lot of chatter and there's a lot of things going on, it's sort of hard to differentiate, like, is that my intuition or is that not? And so when you really just have a, consistency with the page, you're going to really start to notice, oh, that's a different voice that's coming through on the page. So, and what's beautiful too, is just when we start really writing our stories, and, I can attest to it from my own journey and, the work that I do on the retreats that I lead with writing, is that when we write our stories and we become the author of our stories, we become the authority. So we take our power back from times in the past that maybe we felt powerless when we write about it, when we become the author. So it's a really powerful healing modality where we actually start to magnetize different people and things into our lives because we've cleared that karma.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Something that I often do is I will go back and write about my past, and I will reframe it. I'll rewrite it in such a way that it was a blessing. So if I have some energy charge around how something was bad, hard, I write the story from now with the perspective I have now of what a beautiful opportunity that was and what I learned and who I became and all the opportunities, like, and in that way, I literally like reprogram the past. Because there's a lot of, I also do future writing, I'll write about how good my life is a year from now and all the things I created. And so in both of these ways, we become the narrator of our story of our life. And the truth is we're all creating our story. It's just a matter of how consciously we're doing it or not. So I love this as a tool for that. And maybe you could just end with this. So yesterday I proposed this idea, this concept, like a way of looking at the world of what would you do? Who would you be? How would you show up if you knew you were the superhero or the heroine of your own story? And so since you're right, like, can you land that maybe in some type of practice for people with a writing practice?
Well, it's actually dovetails perfectly to what you just said, because when you start to approach life from the place of like, everything is happening for me, not to me, your life turns into this like really exciting, choose your own adventure, personal development video game, right? Like everybody coming into your orb is for you. They're gifting you. Everyone's coming with a gift, right? Sometimes that gift is wrapped in sandpaper, but there's a gift there. And like being the sort of detective and finding out what is that gift, that jettisons you to the next level. Because guess what? You don't have to get that gift again. Right. So life starts to just be so much more fun, so much more playful. It really does become this beautiful, spiritual, epic adventure. It becomes the quest. So
beautiful. Thank you so, so much for being here, for your generosity of spirit. And it's been so sweet to connect with you. You all, this amazing woman, I invited her to the show, or to whatever I want to call this. And she sent me a book. I just want to land this for everyone. There's a way of being in the world where you are generous and you you operate from abundance. So a lot of people that I invite to this is the second time I've done something like this, and I'm going to keep doing it. Some people see that it's a way to expand themselves, be abundant. It feels like a gift to them. They receive it like that. It feels like this beautiful, life is giving you opportunity to share and to connect with more people. And some people receive the invitation I'm trying to get something, it's a burden, there's a scarcity lack. Now, if someone says no to an invitation, that's energy is not inherently there. No doesn't mean that, but there's a way of being in the world when someone invites you into something, or just when people show up in front of you, where you expand, and that expansion can still lead to a sacred no, right? But also there's this, it feels so good when someone is a yes in front of you. And Emily, I just thought it was so beautiful and such a testament to who you are, that as I invited you in, you sent me your book in gratitude.
I really believe we create our own invitations too. So I always love to connect with, these are my favorite things to talk about. These are my favorite things to do. And I love connecting with beautiful beings that are hungry for this information. And in fact, I love how you talked about the reframing. I have a free masterclass too, that I take you through 3 embodiment practices, and that's one of them. So if you guys are interested in exploring more, all that stuff's on my website, because I believe that it's sort of we're passing the baton. When you find your way out of the dark cave, when you get your way out of the maze, there is a strong urge to reach your hand out and lift other people up by sharing what works.
Right.
That's just a true thing that happens with everybody, that really heals from a place, when you remember when you were on that bathroom floor crying. So
this is what Brandon was talking about, how we're all here to be miracle workers. And, I did so many trainings before I had any intention to be a teacher, coach. It was all from my own. I did a yoga teacher training without any intention to be a yoga teacher. I did a healing, so many things, and it's true. Then there's just natural, it's oh, but that's what we're here to do and be. And sometimes that'll be packaged in a service provider, as a coach, a guide, which you and I are. And even it doesn't matter. You can be a CEO of a big company or whatever it is, but still that desire comes alive in us to be the beacon of light, to show people just how good it can be, and to support and guide. And for some of us, that's in very specific, I am a guide, a coach, an advisor. But even if you're in a completely different industry, please, the thing that we're here to do, I would say, any of us are out. Our external purpose is to just bring more love, is to awaken the people around us. And that doesn't always mean by specific, wake up. It's through your own being, through being the reflection for people, that awakens people. And some of us have these specific tools that we want to share, but that's not the path for everyone. But the more you be it, the more the world around you, you'll just become a gift in the world. And then when you're a gift in the world, it's what I'm just acknowledging Emily for, you receive more gifts back, right? You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. So thank you so much, Emily. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. It was so good to connect with you here.
Thank you so much. It was an honor. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So that was our last guest in this 10-day immersion. It's been so fun, y'all. What's been your biggest takeaway? Share in the comments. What's been the biggest aha, the biggest thing that you really want to focus on as a shift, as a perspective, a practice? Land it right here, because as you acknowledge it, it becomes more real. You want to speak it, you want to name it. Serving. Yeah. So just go ahead and share. I want to see in your comments. And, my work is about helping people remember and recreate their identity that's aligned with truth. And sometimes that looks many ways. You know, I support people in scaling their businesses and hiring teams and coming into divine union relationships. And there's a lot of ways that we get to tend the environment of our life to support that, so that we are actually like creating flourishing gardens, like where our whole life is abundant. That's what I'm all about. Like, I want our whole lives to be abundant. Every part of it to be rooted in truth, every part of it to be rooted in beauty, to have as much wealth as you desire, to have as much love as you desire, to have as much connection, like all of it. And so the core of it is remembering the true identity. The core of it is remembering your true purpose. The core of it is anchoring in that spiritual knowing. And then from there, we get to also refine our creation, we have these alchemical tools of creation, so that we can create worlds, so that we can be the author of our story, so that we can live and lead a great story. Because that sounds fun, doesn't it? I mean, if you're in my world, it's got to sound fun to you, right? Yeah, materializing, as I told Philippe, that I was trying to find a new word other than manifestation, just because the word manifestation now is like kind of overused. And so he's like, what about materializing? I'm like, yeah, like materializing spirit into form. That's part of the joy of what we get to be here to do and create. And so if you want to become a more masterful creator and experience more joy, experience more peace, to be a beacon of light in the world, to be the kind of person, the kind of embodiment that literally lights up a whole room, then I invite you to connect with me. The next offering I have as a group is Kavana. It's next week. So if you just want to keep in this energy and go deeper into it and come out feeling really clear about how to really orient from this perspective, from this way of being, please join us. Monica, you can put it in all the chats. That's like a really like the path of most ease for the next step, to stay together, to be working together, to go deeper into this, to really enliven this more in your cells. And if it's not the right fit because of timing, or you just know that you want more intimate support, reach out to me. You can even schedule a call, Monica, if you can. Yeah, Nicole, welcome. I'm so glad you just said you signed up this morning. Yay, it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. But I also do VIP days, which are one-to-one immersions that are retreats that are designed specifically for what you need right now. And I take on a couple one-to-one clients a season as a personal advisor, spiritual guide. And then I have a group program coming up, Threshold, which I'm not going to get all into right now. It's going to be a really potent initiation where I'm going to bring some of my spiritual teachers in so that we can like keep getting this wisdom, and then talking about how do we embody it, how do we actually live it, how do we bring this into ourselves. So that'll be a longer journey. I'll share more about that in the days, weeks, months to come. It'll officially start a little bit later this spring. But if you know that you're wanting to be in a container like that, just schedule a call with me. I'd love to have you all in Kavana. And I know that it's next week. And for some of you, you're willing to make the changes and make it happen and be there because you know you want to keep expanding in this and rooting in everything that we've been sharing. So join us at Kavana if you can. But if you want to if you just feel that resonance, look, I know when I want to work with somebody. And sometimes the thing they're offering, the next thing they're offering might not feel like the thing. Like maybe Kavana doesn't feel like the thing, but there's some resonance and you're like, I know this for myself. I know that my life is better when I have a guide, when I have intimate support in my life. I like to have a coach, a spiritual teacher, and some type of like some person that's like doing more energetic work with me all the time to keep me. And I have amazing community around me. And I've found it to be so, so, so important. And so, especially if you don't have that support, and if you feel that resonance, just let's connect. Monica can share a link in the chats of where you could schedule a call with me. And I'd love to hear your vision. I want to know what you're up to. I want to know what drives you, what you're inspired by, what is the threshold you're moving through. So by threshold, it's about like, what is the conscious choice you're making and who you're becoming, right? That merge, I was talking about how life and my work is about that intersection between human and holy. Holy meaning the remembering of what's true. Like really getting that. And that's a lifelong process of it getting deeper and deeper. And let me tell you, the more that I get it, the more free, because the freedom's there. Is what Brandon and I were talking about. And it's delicious. And now I'm just like, yes, more of that. Like, oh, like I just want to like drink in the delicious freedom and the delicious goodness. And then the human part is like, and then how do we refine and navigate this dimension, both in our creation, in our wealth stewardship and creation, in our service, in our work, in our relationships, in our family, so that everything's abundant and flourishing. And Nicole, you asked what Kavana means. Kavana means to live, to lead, to do with intention, to bring your whole heart into something, to be fully present in your creation, which is a moment by moment thing. And to lead with devotion means that you take the time to do things like workshops like Kavana, that you invest in having guides and coaches. It does require an investment of time, energy, attention, and money to evolve, to awaken. In the Kabbalah, in the Torah, it talks about how, so the Bible and Torah, most spiritual texts actually talk about money a lot. Like the Bible talks about money a lot, and that basically you should have it. It does not say that money is in sin, like made in sin and it's bad. It's actually, no, like you should have it. But one thing that it says in the Torah and Kabbalistically is like that the purpose, though, the ultimate purpose of money is so that you can invest in your spiritual learning, so you can invest in your spiritual teachers, so you can invest and you can have the time to actually grow spiritually. And as you invest in that way, there's always more available. So it would be my honor and joy to be your ally, to be your peer in awakening. You know, I don't promise or pretend to have it all figured out, but I can promise that when you're in my space, you will awaken. It's literally what I was designed here to do. We were talking about human design with Erin, and in my human design, there's something called channels, pathways. My channel is a channel of awakening, which means that when people, like, it's like what I'm uniquely designed to do is that as you come into my space, you will more naturally see who you really are, which often means you will often see where you're out of integrity with what's true. So a lot of times when I've had people like collaborators come in my life and they didn't consciously enroll, say yes to like, yes, I'm inviting you in my life because I want to awaken. Sometimes they've gotten really uncomfortable because when you have been operating out of alignment with who you really are, it can be really uncomfortable to see that you've been lying to yourself, to see that you're out of integrity, to see that you keep breaking your word to yourself, saying I'm going to meditate and don't, saying I'm going to do this and I don't, letting fear, doubt, guilt run the show. But when people say yes and they invite me into that, what happens is that as you might see some of those things, there's a gracefulness in choosing a different way and choosing a different path and anchoring in a new commitment. And as much as you're all feeling so inspired right now, the reality is, and this is true for Brandon, this is true for everyone I know personally that came on the show who are in these really beautiful places. Like Brandon is in a really, really beautiful space. Like like for A Course in Miracles, he was like all in on that study for a year, multiple teachers, reading the book multiple times, reading the manuals, teaching it. Like we grow through the devotion to the path. And it's not enough to just have a little new inspiration, a little new information. Like you need to be in it, you need to be immersed in it. It needs to be literally at the center of your life. Almost every day I'm listening to something from one of my teachers. I currently have a business coach, business mentor, who in that mentorship also has a pastor. He's like a preacher who just like speaks truth into us. He calls it spiritual leadership, but I also get business strategy. Almost every day I'm listening to them. Twice a month, I have a master class with two of my different spiritual teachers. I read spiritual text every day. I have a community, a Sangha community, and I have a one-to-one coach. And I get a massage weekly, and like I have a team around me. And that doesn't take up all my, and I'm creating a lot in a day, and I'm dancing, and I'm training for a triathlon, and I'm connecting with people that I love, and I'm doing yoga, and I go sit in the sauna, and I made celery juice this morning, and I do my tea ceremony. Like time gets spacious as you shift who you're being in your day and in the world. Like it's amazing And for sure, if you have a child, like so much of your time is in mom mode or father mode. And it's a different orientation. But I work with moms, and I have mom friends and dad friends, and I have a dad client. I work with men and women who there's a way to be in motherhood and fatherhood that can also feel very expansive. And of course, the days shift of how you do spend your time, but there can be a quality in it. And also like an ease in which you create whatever you're creating, where it becomes more effective so that you can spend so much time being a parent. And whether you're a parent or not, like the reason I can do so much in a day now, and the reason I was able to bring this whole thing forward, you might have heard me say in the beginning that this was an inspiration that came in at the beginning of March. And was like, Spirit was like, do this, start with the spring equinox. And these take a lot of back end production, you guys, especially with if it wasn't all the people, it'd be more simple if I was just showing up, but to get all of these 20 people that came on and to get on their calendar, like usually to create something like this, like about 90 days is ideal. 60 days is solid. I created, produced, marketed, and led it all in less than a month. And we all have, yes, Godspeed. It was backed by source. Now, of course, there was areas my human self would have loved to have refined. And if I had more time, like things would have been a little, but it doesn't, I'll just do it again. So without getting caught up in that, the reason that it was possible and the reason I didn't stop myself is because it's like, I trusted that intuition, that knowing. And so I just didn't give myself time to let my emotions talk me out of it. Okay. So if that's the type of life you want to be up to, then join Kavana or get on a call with me. We can connect. I can get to know you more, and I can share different pathways for you to be supported. And if it's not with me, I can guide you to someone else, because I have an extraordinary network, some of which I will bring into my group programs and into future. Like, I love collaboration. I want to bring to you the people that awaken me, and then be a space that helps you integrate it, because I'm a weaver. I like pull the threads together and then help it land so it's clear. So, thank you, Sivan. My Burning Man, for those of you that are burners, I have done Burning Man many times, and my Burning Man name, which is this awesome, amazing event, which at the root of it is basically like people are becoming conscious creators. So we're all remembering that the whole world is our grand playa. It happens on a place called the Playa, for those of you that know. But Burning Man helps us remember, helps people remember that we are the creators, that we can create worlds. But we're doing that all the time. But at Burning Man, my name, you get like a fun name, is Dreamweaver. And it's because I literally am a space where dreams become possible. And you can be that too. And we all have our different qualities. Like the space where dreams are possible. And also then the weaving of like, how does that person and this thing come together so that more dreams, the collective dream, is possible. So who are my fellow burners? Put B in the chat. I'm just curious who here is a burner. You can put B or burner in the chat. I want to see you. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's basically this epic festival. It's just this place where humans created a conscious playground to play within. And here's one of the things that makes Burning Man so powerful, is that people go to Burning Man entering a new world consciously. And then they expect that there's going to be magic, miracles, and serendipity. And so there is. But what so many burners don't get is that if we all started operating like that out here, it would be so here too. The serendipity, the magic, the miracles, the unexpected blessings, the gifts, they all happen because they're like expected to happen, and because you're sourcing them, because you're showing up at Burning Man as a blessing. You're showing up to give. So when we bring that energy into our day-to-day life, like all of life becomes that festival, becomes that playground. Yeah. So this has been so fun to be with you all. please stay connected with me. The Facebook group that we all met in, I'm going to keep it live. I'm going to keep serving. I'm going to keep being in there. So stay connected in the Facebook. If you've been watching on YouTube, if you have Facebook, go into Return to Source Facebook group and join us so that we can stay connected in a community. And email me, share what opened up for you, share your breakthroughs. I'd love to hear who your favorite speakers were, like anything that you feel compelled to share, or anyone that you would love for me to interview going forward. When I do this again, please feel free. hello@charleneparker.com. hello@charleneparker.com. You can email me. And to sign up for Kavana, it's returntosource.live/K, the letter K. So returntosource.live/K is how you access Kavana. And I hope that I'll see many of you next week. We'll be together in a beautiful container. We'll get to all see each other, be together. We're going to dance. We're going to move. You're going to activate your magnetism. You're going to get clear. You're going to get in your power and really consciously create a new identity for this next chapter of your life. And it's going to be a good one. Yay, best 10 days ever. Susan, the gifts, if you go into the Facebook group, in all the featured, there's a whole featured section where you'll see all these streams. There's also one post that has the gifts. I get to update it with today's and yesterday's, and I will, so that they're all in one place and you can connect with all of the amazing speakers that came in. So just to end this, we're going to do two things. Okay. So we're going to say best life ever 3 times. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Best life ever. Best life ever. Best life ever. Laugh, 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 laugh. Clap, 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 laugh, laugh, laugh. And we're going to do 1 yes, and you're going to make it count. Okay, to get clear right now, what are you affirming? What are you saying yes to? What are you inviting? Who are you becoming? How good does it get to be? What's the support that you're saying yes to? To have a coach, to have guidance, to hire more team. What are you saying yes to? Bring that into your heart. Feel that. Feel it. Feel as if it's so. Know that it's already so. It's already here. And on the count of 3, we're gonna go yes. So bring your arms up, lift them up. Come on, even if you're resistant, whatever state you're in right now, you just hopped on right now. We're gonna yes to life. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Yay. Okay, if you're in Zoom, you can unmute. I just want to hear you all like celebrate your thank yous. I don't think. Yeah, I want to hear.
There's been the most incredible time. Thank you so much. I just I'm still filtering through everything that I've gained and learned, and it's just been so phenomenal.
You're so welcome. You've been so amazing. The breakthroughs that you've experienced and the shifts that you've made in this short time is so spectacular. So let it be a sign of just how much shift and change you're about to create in your life, because so much has shifted in just 10 days for you. And let's just keep building on that momentum.
Yeah.
Thank you, Love Day. I'll see you next week at Kavana.
Yeah, totally. Definitely. Can't wait.
Monica, I'm just going to bring you up here for a second. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for helping hold the container and just like being in the chat and sharing with everybody. I'm so grateful to you. You're so phenomenal.
I feel the same. And I'm just like celebrating you with everybody and just applauding you for putting this together and just being such an epic human being and continuous to reminding all of us how amazing we are. And I'm just so grateful for you. So thank you. We all are just like pouring so much gratitude into you, Charlene. I know this took so much dedication and so much love and so much prayer. So I'm just asking all of us to like rub our hands together and just give a little blessing to Charlene, everything she poured into in what we've seen and things that we haven't even seen, right? So on the count of 3, we'll blast her with some love and energy and just so much gratitude. Yes. You are a miracle. I love you. We all love you. Thank you, sister.
Thank you. Oh, that feels so good. Thank you for receiving me. All right, everybody, have the best day, a beautiful day, and I look forward to seeing and connecting with many of you soon. Till next time.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.